Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 718 for the 11th of February. So there's a new development. There's a weird report by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reporting that the Russians have built a very long train. This train is over 30 kilometers long. As you can see in my based on the geolocated length, the head and the tail of the train is 30.4 kilometers long, and it stretches all the way from Olenivka, from this point of Olenivka, all the way stretches all the way to Vonovakha, and to this point at Vonovakha, and this is a super long train, and this 30 kilometers train, according to the Ukrainian OSIN, the open source intelligence, the Deep State UA, they reported that they actually verified this information through satellite imagery, and they have basically confirmed based on the satellite imagery across different time periods, and confirmed that this is actually a constructed thing, and they have analyzed that this is actually a kind of a barrier or a line of defense or a wall. They call it the SAR train. They call it the SAR train, and basically I call it a train wall or SAR train wall or whatever. So they say that this includes more than 2,000 over cars in a continuous structure of freight cars, stretching from Olenivka to Vonovakha, and they say that the construction of this train wall started in July 2023, and which is actually pretty recent. It's only half a year, and they say that some of this train is actually taken from captured Ukrainian trains, and so this is particularly interesting. They're using the Russians have developed this as a backup, as a wall to prevent against a quick breakthrough from the Ukrainian side, and it shows again that the Russians are very wary of a Ukrainian breakthrough. They are not underestimating the Ukrainian forces as a result, and they say that this train is actually going to be very difficult to damage, move, or blow up due to the fact that it's 30 kilometers long of metal, and so it's to break through without specialized equipment. It will be nearly impossible, and I think that even if you have some tanks and whatnot, you will not be able to just plow through, because all the train cars are going to be connected. So it is a very interesting contraption by the Russian forces. We will continue to monitor and see how this goes. As you can see, this is actually not very far from the front line. We are talking about around 7 kilometers from the front line. And however, this is not exactly a weak spot for the Russians. This entire area here, this entire farmland, is not easy for the Ukrainians to just penetrate through. But I think the Russians still develop this as a backup, as an insurance against a potential Ukrainian advancement, particularly heading towards Mariupol. Because if the Ukrainians can attack Mariupol and destroy some of these beautiful newly built buildings for PR purposes, or to show that the Russians are doing really well, and take good care of this newly conquered territory, it will be bad. As you can see, Vonovakha stands in the crossroad that heads all the way down to Mariupol. So if a Ukrainian push in this direction and head all the way south, in the breakthrough where the Russians are not able to close the gap quickly, then yeah, this is going to be very embarrassing. So this could be a case, and of course the Ukrainians can also break through from the into the south of Donetsk and create some big trouble in the rear. So this could be another reason why they strategically built this train around here, and it links just nice with the rest of the entrenchment, the rest of the Surovikin lines. So that's interesting, and there is actually more lines of defense around all this area here, which I did not map in. We shall continue to monitor and see how these progress. So we move into the Southern Front, in the Kherson Front, Ukrainian forces continue to stay at Krinky, with the Russian forces continue to attack Krinky. So this situation at Krinky continues. There's nothing very special now about this now. There is a Lancet attack on a Ukrainian artillery. A M777 artillery system got hit by Russian Lancet, the suicide drone. So that's it from the Southern Front in the Kherson region. We move into the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, this is Zaporizhzhia city in the Horlivka sector. The Russian forces continue their attack in this area here, with fighting reported towards Robotine. Ukrainian forces counter-attack over at Novoporovska. So this is the situation at the Horlivka sector. And we move on from this front line to the Velika Novosilka sector. This is Velika Novosilka. At this sector around here, the Russian forces attack at Prione and the north of Prione. Ukrainian forces are also allegedly attacking at Prione, so we will continue to monitor and see, what's the result. The clash at Prione reignite again. So yeah, there must be some very precious thing that they're fighting over in that region. Moving on away from the Zaporizhzhia Front into the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, Russian forces are attacking at Shevchenko. So Russian forces are attacking at Shevchenko towards Vodian. They're attacking Novomikhailivka, Boyeda, in the south of Marinka, at Georgievka, at Krasnohorivka. So the Russian forces is basically pushing in multiple directions, and this is already known. This attack over here is already known. This is the new one. Shevchenko and attack towards Vodian is the new one. Previously, we have another attack towards Zolotaneva. So we will continue to monitor. The Russians seems to be expanding their offensive actions in this area here, but not sure if this is sustained. Like the Zolotaneva situation is on-off, on-off. The same with the one fighting towards Vodian. The one towards Vodian is also a very on-off situation. So we will monitor and see how these progress. There's not much other details regarding these front lines, except for Boyeda. In the frontline changes, already reported that the Russian forces have pushed the front line a bit more towards the Boyeda itself. And moving on to Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the Russian forces are attacking in multiple directions, and they continue to expand their control over in the northern part of Avdiivka. They are also attacking in the south, expanding control in the area here. They are fighting at Opitne, threatening a pincer movement in this area here. And the Russians are attacking in the south of Tonenke, Povomaisky, and Nevelsky. So the situation here continues to be very, very bad for the Ukrainians, as the Russian forces is not slowing down. And there is daily frontline changes over at the Battle of Avdiivka. And when you have daily changes, it means that your lines are collapsing. They are literally crumbling, and the Ukrainians are struggling to put up a good defense to hold back the Russians. So if we talk a bit further, is that in the south, we previously know that the Ukrainians have successfully held back the Russian advance. The Russians are unable to push out of this area here, and there is a defense. You see, they can reorganize the defense despite the initial breakthrough. However, because of the northern push that break the entire line, and the Russians have been pushing out, and they are now pushing towards and expanding the control of this salient here, and has effectively cut off this reinforcement route. The southern front is losing resupply, food, reinforcement, and evacuations, and the Russians have now had the opportunity to take advantage of the weakness in the Ukrainian forces right now in terms of logistics, and they are now breaking through against Ukrainian lines. And I think in the south, you're going to start to see daily frontline changes from now on. So and I would say the same over at the eastern part of Avdiivka. So moving on from the Avdiivka front, over at the Niu-York front, the Ukrainian forces have launched counteroffensive, and I believe this is offensive ordered by Srysky. As you will see later, as we move on all the way towards Kupyansk, there is a lot of Ukrainian offensive. Ukrainians are attacking at Pivdene and Niu-York, although there is geolocation of Russian forces in the north, in the not so north, like in the eastern part of Niu-York. So we will continue to monitor and see what is up with Srysky. maybe he really ordered some massive offensive operations to really counter the situation. The offensive operation continues over at Mayos, in this area here. Russians are the one attacking, however, in the rest of the southern part of the Bakhmut front at Kudyumivka, Klishchievka, as well as Ivanivsky. So this is the situation. The Ukrainians are focusing mainly in this area at Mayos, Pivdene, and Niu-York. So this is the main push towards Horlivka. This is Horlivka. So we shall monitor and see how this progress. Like I mentioned, Mayos is super important. This is strategically important. So I mentioned this before multiple times. So we shall see how this progress. In the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, the Russian forces also continue their offensive in this area here. Other than the fighting at Ivanivsky that I mentioned already, they are continuing their push towards Chasiv from Bodanivka and Kromove direction. And Ukrainians are counter-attacking over at Bodanivka, but I'm not sure in which vector. And there is a geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit by FPV drone in the rear position along the road. The Russian drones are hunting Ukrainian equipments everywhere, and our situation is it's quite scary, to be honest. It's becoming a bit like Matrix, and getting hunted by drones. And moving on, over at the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, the Ukrainian forces also launched offensive in this area here towards Bilohorivka. However, Russians are attacking at Razdolivka as well as Bilohorivka, the other Bilohorivka. So at the Siversk Front. So we will see how this goes. And we move on to the Kreminna Front. So at the Kreminna Front, this is Kreminna city. At Kreminna Front, Ukrainian forces attack at Yampolivka and Dibrova. The Russians attack in the area of Serebransky Forestry and towards Krychorivka and as well as Torsky. So this is the strategic situation at Kreminna. And we move on. Again, Marne has been mentioned, but probably it's just bombardments from the Russian side. And we move on from Kreminna Front. We move into the Svatove Front. So this Svatove bombardment was reported at Nove, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So not very important. And there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces at Novovodyan, showing, and frontline changes showing that the Russians are pushing over at Novovodyan. But we shall wait and see to see if this is something serious. I don't think so. And they move away from the Svatove Front into the Kupyansk Front. So this is the Kupyansk Front. This is Kupyansk city. At the Kupyansk Front, we zoom in a bit. At the Kupyansk Front, Ukrainian forces counterattack at Sinkivka as well as Ivanivka. So they are attacking in this area here in the counteroffensive as well as Terbaivka. The Russians are reportedly attacking at Terbaivka, and I believe the Ukrainians are the one attacking. They are putting effort in the Niu-York front and the Kupyansk front to try to put pressure on the Russian forces that is currently attacking at Avdiivka and at Bakhmut. So it's and this is probably Srysky's counter-offensive to try to change the strategic situation, because situation is actually not good for the Ukrainians. Maybe some success in some counter-offensive, particularly in the New York region, or maybe in this Kupyansk Front region, it could actually boost morale. So otherwise, front line, there's a geolocation, but this is a geolocation of the front line, doesn't change the front line. And we move towards the Kharkiv Front. At the Kharkiv Front, there is just one geolocation of a suicide drone hitting Ukrainian forces in the area of Veterinane. So over this area here, just across the border from Russia, and that's about it from the Kharkiv region, and that's it. So this is the SITREP, or the summary for the day of 718 for the 11th of February. And thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next update. Get access to the full report, the full SITREP, by becoming a DPA Sergeant or Officer in DPA Patreon, Boosty, Locals, or YouTube membership. Thank you for your support.